Greetings everyone, hey, how you doing? It's Sella here. Today, I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review for UglyDolls. That's right, I realized on my channel I don't have much 3D animated movie reviews up just yet, and I promise I talk more about that, and so I shall. Now before we get into that, one quick unrelated update. I am kind of glad I did not do my thoughts and reaction to the Sonic trailer, especially with the design going around, because for those who haven't heard, the director behind the film heard all the negative backlash and said in a tweet that he at Paramount and Sega are going to work extra hard to change his design and make Sonic as best as he can after receiving all those negative criticisms. And so I am happy to hear that they're going to be doing that. My only concern is that the movie comes out in November, which gives about 6 months to do, and I'm really hoping that they don't overwork the visual effects department too badly, because unfortunately, when it comes to film industry, the visual effects team are often overlooked and the spotlight's never on them to convey all the hard work that they do to try to make something look as good as they can. And for those who follow the gaming industry, with how crunching is starting to become way too common amongst many AAA studios, it's having psychological trauma and damage on them with depression and stress, and believe me, I've been down there. Not something you want over your head, especially with workers, but time will tell. Time will tell. But anyway, back to something less interesting. UglyDolls, Styx Entertainment 3D animated movie. Let's talk about it. Well, to give a quick summary of what the story is about, in Uglyville, where all the UglyDolls live, after being rejected at the factory line, live happily with their ugliness. But there's one ugly monster thingy called Moxie, and she dreams of having her own kid. And when I mean her own kid, I'm talking more the Toy Story route, where she just wants to find a child whom she can comfort and care for, like any other toy doll would want. And so she decides to embark on a quest to find out how to get to her child by going through the pipes, which leads her to a place called Perfectionville or something, I don't know what it's called. But that's where all the perfect dolls live, prepping and training to get ready to go to the human world so that they can have their own child. But there's a leader there who's like, oh god no, UglyDolls are too ugly, And so she decides to train up and do the best she can to be perfect so she can have her own child. That sounds weird every time I say that, but that's generally the story. So what did I think about the overall movie? Well, we'll get to that later on. But first things first, couple of positives here. I thought the animation was actually pretty solid. And when I mean solid, it was very squash and stretchy. A lot of energy, a lot of life to it. I think the animators did a good job in that regard. There was no moment where there was any like sliding or roboticness to the organic characters. I thought they did a fantastic job in that regard. The art direction I thought was really good too, especially for Uglyville, where the UglyDolls live. Like for those who are probably familiar with like Little Big Planet or Yoshi's Woolly World, Crafted World, if more recent for you guys, Uglyville is pretty much made of felt, buttons, yarn, cardboard, that kind of thing, and I thought it was really well done, well put together. I thought it was really cute. I even thought the moon at night, which is pretty much a giant button that's broken to make it look crescent-like, I thought that was a really cute little design choice. I really did like that. However, once it goes into like Perfection Town or whatever it's called, it kind of becomes that generic 3D animated sci-fi machinery type setting. And there were a couple of like little cool things like the trees and all there, but it wasn't really enough to stand out or be interesting. So I guess that's where some of the negatives start to come in, because boy, do I have quite a few. So probably the first big negative I got here is that I think the songs were pretty forgettable. Aside from maybe like opening song being the first song you heard in the trailer, the first trailer, that's pretty much like the only memorable song in my opinion. Everything else was just way too poppy and generic sounding to me that it just didn't leave an impression on me. And one thing which is supposed to sound like a positive, but it's kind of a negative for me, is did this movie have heart? Sure. And that pains me to say that, yes, this movie had heart, but everything else just kind of muddied it down. Like, maybe I'm too merciful or something, but the writers for this overall story definitely had an interesting theme that they wanted to convey, and I thought it was a really sweet message. Not gonna say exactly what it is, but I almost had a moment where I wanted to tear up and say, that's a good thing to pass on to the kids. That's really good for them to understand and appreciate. However, everything else just seems to muddy down that message, and I'll get more into that right now. But first things first, while I like the designs of the UglyDolls, like they had like that domo Japanese-esque look to them, like they're just simplistic animal monster creatures, The Perfect Dolls themselves were really weirdly designed. Like, I remember the first time I saw the trailer, when we saw the kids in the school uniforms or whatever, I thought those were just cartoony kids. Turns out they were actually dolls, like American dolls or whatever you call them, the things that you dress up. And really the only indication that I saw that they were dolls was when if they would bend their arms, their elbows would kind of pinch in a way that's very similar to Woody from Toy Story. But apart from that, there was really no other indication. There was no like neck joint pivot thing or really anything else that I thought was clear, at least not from what I could tell. And the other thing that bothered me is like I did not quite understand the laws of this world very much at all. Like, yes, we established that it's in a factory, but then we just kind of cut to a coastal village, which is Uglyville. And it kind of has that fantasy, dare I say, DreamWorks Trolls vibe to it, where it's just a fantasy setting where these things live. But then the Perfect Dolls, they're like in some kind of sci-fi factory thing, but it's a nebulous void outside of that. And there's a portal that leads to the human world. And I didn't quite understand what all this was supposed to mean. Is this a metaphor of like marketing and design team trying to say, oh, well, people like these dolls, they gotta be perfect. Let's try making ugly dolls. Maybe that could be more marketing. Like, there's a lot of those interesting themes you can kind of cover while still making this imaginative world for kids to understand and knit that together for a more like grounded, almost human approach of why things are the way they are. But unfortunately, the movie doesn't really go with any of that, and it just becomes like this weird mess where it's like things happen because we need it to happen or reasons. And I don't know, that wasn't really good enough for me. And I'm pretty good at filling in the blanks, but here I'm like, I don't really know what you want. And so the pacing, oh God, the pacing. It felt extremely off and slow, which the bizarre part is that this movie is very short. It felt short, but there were a lot of scenes that kept dragging on, which ties into my next negative. The jokes were pretty bland. And no, they were not offensive, like Happy Madison kind, where it's like fart jokes or pratfalls or anything like that. They were just not well written or delivered, in my opinion. Like, maybe I chuckled once or twice, but many times I did not even like really smile that often. Which I gotta go into one big negative shout out for me, and that ties into me saying delivered. The guy who played Ox, the Mayor Green Bunny thing with the one eye, played by Blake Shelton. I don't know much about that guy. From what I've read up, he's a country music performer. He's a composer, that kind of thing. Does a couple acting gigs, but not much. I really did not like his delivery, the way he conveyed himself in emotional scenes and things like that. He was monotonous as hell. I thought he stunk. Did not like him at all. Not one bit. And for those who are fans of his music, that's fine. I'm sure he's a great musician and singer. But when it comes to acting, no, he wasn't good at it. And unfortunately, he kind of played a loose father figure to Moxie, the main character. And so when the emotion needed to arise, he took me out of it because of how unenthusiastic he sounded during his entire delivery. And I despise that. I didn't hate it, but it was pretty bad, in my opinion. I just could not believe anything he was saying. Not the emotion, at least. Overall, if you're a fan of 3D animation, the trailer is really all you need to appreciate this animation, because the rest of the film is just kind of an extension of what you've already seen. Like, the movie doesn't really expand or create like any crazy new situations where you could see even more unique or specified animation. It's all pretty much the same. So yeah, again, if you're an animator, you want to support this, that's fine, but just keep in mind, you're not really going to see much more than what the trailer has shown in terms of the quality of the animation. And for those who are fans of musicals, honestly, it's kind of hard for me to say, because if I haven't mentioned before, the songs are very pop, and I'm not a fan of pop music. I'm more of a orchestral, epic, smooth jazz, heavy metal, rock, industrial. I'm interested in a whole bunch of things, but pop is like on the lowest spectrum for me, so I'm not really good at knowing what sounds good in that area, and that's pretty much what this movie is. So I could be completely wrong on how memorable the music is, and I'm fine with that. If you're into pop music and you say this is good music, that's totally fine. I'm happy you're able to enjoy it. But for me, who loves musicals, by the way, I'm actually a big fan. I like to hum, I like to sing, even though I have a terrible singing voice. This movie did not leave an impression on me. I could not hum any of it aside from the opening music, which is already in the trailer. So there you go. So anyway, that's going to do do it for my non-spoiler review. I tried to make this as short as I could. Sorry if I rambled, but that's just the way it is. I honestly don't recommend this movie much at all. It's pretty innocent for the kids, so if you have kids, I think you'll be fine. There's one intense scene or two, but it's not the worst scene I've seen, but I think you'll be fine. Anyway, thank you all for checking out this review. If you enjoy content just like this, I highly recommend you subscribe to this channel. If you have a second of your time, give us a like. And the best way to support me, if you can, go to patreon.com/Matt Sella and consider donating as little as $1 a month. It will help me keep creating content just like this. I also post art, and I also have some animation planned up for my next projects. All kinds of goodies, because as an animator and artist, I like to create. And by supporting me through Patreon, that'll keep me going and encouraged to do so, because content is what I want to do for y'all. If you did see UglyDolls, let me know in the comment section below. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What worked? What didn't work? Let me know in the comment section below. Join the conversation. All right, guys, thank you all for tuning in.
Hollywood, where the streets are paved with gold, where the kiddies never grow. In Hollywood, where the stars don't shine at night, they walk around in the broad daylight in Hollywood.